Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Bold Moves podcast. Today, I've got Peter Klassen with me. He is the owner and operator of PK Digital Creative, a graphic design business that includes digital and print formats, motion graphics, and visual identity design. He is truly passionate about design and visual communication, but he took the entrepreneur route because he is also 1/5 of a JUNO Award-winning rock band that tours the world 3 to 4 months of the year. So bosses don't really want employees. There you go. There's the award. There's the proof, guys. Bosses don't really want employees in, or sorry, bosses do want employees in their offices, but Peter has some serious rocking to do. So being an entrepreneur awards him the flexibility to do so, as well as greater control over his time and finances. So welcome, Peter.
Hey, thanks for having me. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, I'm always excited to speak to another creative. So this is going to be fun. Um, so that's an interesting bio. Tell us about. Well, let's take a step back and talk about what you were doing before you started your business. So can you share the story behind? Because I know you were studying East Asian linguistics, and then you took off to Tokyo to have a career in broadcasting and TV over there. Can you tell us about that time and transitioning to becoming a graphic designer and musician?
Sure. I guess where should I start? I guess it started in mechanic school. That's
Okay.
kind of strange to place to come from. I guess if that's the direction we're going, but I'd made some friends from Japan who were here studying English. I'm a big fan of rock and roll and heavy metal music, and I just happened to make friends with a couple of young people from Japan who were also into the same music. And we would share bands and whatnot with each other. And one day I just thought, hey, is there any heavy metal in Japan? And of course, he said, yes, there's so much. So I asked him to share some with me, and there were a handful of bands that he gave to me that he burned it on a CD. This is how long ago it was. Um,
Right.
Yeah, so he gave me a bunch, and I got really excited about a handful of these bands. And being in a band, you wanna cover music that you like sometimes in your set. You'll pick a cover song. And I wanted to do. I thought, oh wow, how crazy would it be if we did a song in Japanese, right? Nobody does that. So that's how it started, I guess. I became very interested in studying language. I realized, I might have a bit of a thing for language and words. I was never a math numbers guy. I was always more of a literature and linguistics sort of brain, I suppose.
Yeah.
So that I took off with that, and I did my mechanic apprenticeship. Hated it the whole time. I love cars and I love engines and stuff like that, but just working on them wasn't my thing. So I saved up enough money. Well, not enough money, but some of the money to go back to university and take a linguistics degree. My focus was in East Asian linguistics because I had this crazy dream that I was going to go to Japan and work with all these musicians that I really looked up to. So I spent my third year in as an exchange student in Waseda University in Tokyo, and intensively studying the language, culture, history, etc., etc. Came back to University of Calgary, where I was attending at the time. Graduated, moved straight back to Tokyo. I was lucky enough to meet the right people at the right time, pretty quickly after moving there. That got me into a training session with a rather big producer, doing an annual event that was put on with a huge group of, let's say, the 80s and 90s, biggest rock stars of Japan from the 80s and 90s. So from there, my network kind of exploded. And that was just meeting the right people, being in the right place at the right time. And then from there, I enjoyed an 8-year career as a studio vocalist, vocalist of a couple of touring bands that toured throughout Japan. And then I ended up in a lot of voiceover jobs, so like for jingles for TV commercials, a little bit of voice acting. I ended up doing some singing for some anime music, some video game music, and some on TV stuff like TV personality, on location reporting, things like that, and even a couple of movies and whatnot. So I really loved doing that, but then it came time to move back to Canada. I
Yeah.
was thinking, I'm going to continue my voiceover thing in Canada, but I have this great resume now. I worked for Asahi, I worked for Toyota and Lexus and all these things. I have this great resume. So I come back to Alberta and I'm thinking, yeah, I'm gonna be good for this. But really, in those industries, any sort of acting or entertainment and things like that, it's really about who you know, having a good
Yeah.
agent, um, and you really have to work from the bottom and work your way up. I
Mhm.
didn't have any of those connections in Alberta. So I came back and I started to look at it like, do I really want to spend the next 10 years building up
Mm.
from zero again in this industry? What else have I got? Well,
Mm.
I'd always been the guy in a band or in a group of creatives who was kind of the guy who knew a little bit about Photoshop. So if there were posters to be made, I was the guy they'd come to quite often. So that
Right.
being said, I didn't have any of the theory though. I mean, I was okay, but looking at
Mhm.
it now, I would never show anybody any of those designs.
Me too, and I
So
went to school for it, so
there you
I get
go.
it.
There you
Yeah.
go. So that's what I did too. Then I decided it was time to get serious about design because this was the thing that I always wanted to do if I wasn't so busy with music and all these entertainment things. I've been quite inspired by a good friend of mine I grew up with, who is in Calgary and owns a graphic design business as well, called Colin Graphic Design. He mentored me through graphic design school, which was my next
Wow.
step. So I took a graphic design course, um, completed it, and instead of going to work at an agency or a print shop, which is a common route,
Yep.
um, I had joined Striker, this band that I'm involved in, about a month after moving home. So it was wow, this band tours a lot. So I can't really go and get normal employment because no boss wants to hear, oh sorry, I have to go to Europe for a month. It's like no you don't. But yeah,
Right.
so that's kind of how I got this way, I suppose. But I'm really glad that I took the schooling in design because there's fundamental principles and theory to do with design that you really need to follow if you're going to visually communicate effectively for your clients.
Yeah, you're so right about that. And yeah, there's definitely some rules, and knowing the rules and how to break them as well is helpful. But wow, that is super interesting. It's kind of sounds like you had met all the right people at all the right times in both Japan, and then when you came back here, like that mentor that you had to kind of guide you through graphic design,
Mm,
and just building your career so fast in the television world in Japan when you where you knew nobody really, and
right.
becoming there fresh. So did you do all your work in Japanese over there?
Yes, I conducted
Yeah,
all my work in Japan because I mean that's the language they speak over there.
yeah,
For one,
wow,
I didn't want to be the guy who goes to someone else's country and be like, "Hey, you have to do it my way." I've
right,
never wanted to be that guy. I've always thought, if I'm gonna go immigrate somewhere, I should be trying to respect the place I'm going to. So I wanted to, be able to integrate as best as I could. So I want to be
yeah,
respected by my peers.
yeah, that makes
Um,
sense.
so yeah, I worked really hard to be able to speak Japanese at a business level, and I even did my taxes in Japanese eventually. That's my
Holy
big
smokes.
bragging thing. It's like, yeah.
I can't imagine Japanese is an easy language to learn.
Oh no, not at all. It's
There's no
kind of a
reference for
nightmare.
it. Yeah, there's no reference for the linguistic system if you just is English the only other language you speak?
It is. I mean, I took French, of course, through school,
Yeah,
as we all do in Canada. But as I
yeah.
like to say, we all speak cereal box French. So we can say the things that are on all the food products, but other than that, it's
Yeah,
pretty difficult. So I mean,
yeah,
growing out in Western Canada too, there wasn't a lot of opportunity to use, and that's the thing. If you don't use the language, you
yeah,
do lose it. I spent
you
two
do.
years. My minor was Chinese, and I can't speak a lick of Chinese anymore. I forget everything. So
Oh, that's so
I
sad. Yeah,
never used it. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, definitely. I was in French immersion school myself through the whole, K to 12, and so I
Mm,
know French and I
mm,
understand it, but only my French has only improved since I moved now, but I had a neighbor who was French from France. And I said, "Oh, can I speak French with you? I just really want to practice."
What do we got going on? Are we locked up? Well, I'm not sure if we're still live, but it seems like a good time to take a sip of coffee. Two sips of coffee? All right, I guess we'll just wait and see what happens here. Oh. Well, folks, it's just me now. I assume she will be back shortly. I was informed that there may have been some internet connection issues in the neighborhood as there was a repair truck driving around this morning. So that could be the issue. You know, we have all this wonderful technology nowadays, but it's not perfect, is it? Just like us people. We're not perfect either. I don't know how much more storytelling I should continue with until she gets back. In the meantime, would you guys like to see my bass guitar? This is a custom bass guitar from a company called Vigilant Guitars in Victoria, BC. It was made to my specs. It has my signature on it. And with the Japanese stuff that we were all talking about, it has a Japanese phrase on the 12th fret that says ultra heavy low end, because that's what bass guitar is. Holds the low end down. Plays like a dream. If there's anybody else out there who plays a musical instrument, I'd be happy to hear about your experience. Go ahead, comment it. There's a comment section, right? Oh boy. I hope our host is okay. This seems to have become the Just Me podcast. Oh no. Oh no, that's a lot to put on my shoulders. It's okay. I lift weights sometimes. I think my shoulders can handle it. Here goes another sip of coffee. Cheers, folks. Oh, we have a message. All right, everyone. I don't know if you are still seeing or hearing me, but it sounds like we have some connectivity issues, and we will be picking this up from where we're leaving off at another time. So thanks for tuning in right now. On behalf of my host, thank you as well. I'm sure she would love to say thank you for tuning in. Hopefully we can catch you when we get this sorted out. Take care.